Dogma, No Direction with Aaron, of course, which is the special guest here, Brian, um, just a bunch, Nick at Night, just even the Funky Bros. It's just a whole bunch of stuff and content produced daily for all of you to enjoy. And today's special guest will be none other than Aaron from Phoenix EOD. And most of the time, people are a guest on his podcast. But this time, we're just going to ask a quick questions and just probably dig in a little deep of some questions that's never really been asked, and how his, not his whole journey, but how the Phoenix EOD really came to be. And that is what we're going to be talking about today. And yeah, and also just a heads up, because there's a limited quantity only at the houseofrags.com, and we're talking about the iconic rinseless wash from the House of Rags, and of course the Stay Strong detailer, which is is going to a good cause. All the proceeds for the Stay Strong detailer campaign goes straight to to a campaign, a fundraising campaign, straight to charity. Good, Detail code makes no money off of it. But in terms of the iconic rinseless wash and their rinseless wash sponge, it is a collaboration with DIY and specifically just Ivan LaCroix. It's a complete own rinseless wash formulation that Ivan has in his brain, and they made a special video dedicating it, talking about on how it is expensive to make, and that's why it's just a limited quantity of that product. And yeah, and then also you guys get any other product line like Phoenix EOD products, and we'll dive deep into some of his chemical mindset of why he developed his product line, and maybe which top 3 products was his hardest to create. And yeah, so let's invite Aaron from Phoenix EOD, and here we go, Mr. Aaron.
Hey, buddy. How
How's
are you?
everything? It's been a
Good. How are
while.
you? It's been you saved my bacon a couple of months ago, and
Yeah,
I'm glad that I could return the favor.
yeah, I appreciate that. I really do. Hitting you up right away, and then you were able to come on. Just
Yeah,
great.
good. I love it. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Sorry, I had to get a
That's
bit of
right.
Pepsi.
That's right,
Yeah.
Matt. In my shop, I'm in the what did Godfrey call it? He called it the Night Rider,
The night, the night,
the
right?
Night Rider truck, the back of the truck.
So first off, just you know, welcome aboard. Ghost for always tuning in. Humberto, talking about a Humberto. You went to MTE, which was last weekend, and we could talk about that real quick as well. What's going on, Big O, Tim, Wilson's, Mike, Westcat. Who else? We got Chingy Blingy, Eileen from So Clean, Keith.
Juice free. Don't forget juice
Everybody.
free.
Juice Freeze here. Yep, I see Juice. Everybody, Jamie the cleaner, he's always tuning in. He's like, that's gotta show up. Rick Smith, Carlos, and Matt. Everybody, thank you all for tuning in.
Did you say hi to Titan Tim? I couldn't remember.
Yes, I said Tim.
Okay,
Titan
good,
Tim.
Good.
He's
on my list.
Yeah, and
He's
then
on my list.
And
him and Rick Smith are on my list.
For what?
Chime down on that. You want to get into it right now?
Yeah, just real quick. Why are they on your list?
I was scheduled to go down to the MTE like Wednesday through Friday, and I was going to leave Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, Titan Tim and Rick are just like, we're not going to get there till Friday. You can't leave on Friday. You're supposed to stay through Saturday. And so I used Frontier, so they nickel and dime you for everything. But I changed my flight from Friday to Saturday, and then those 2 knotheads didn't show up.
Oh, wow!
They stuck me with Hawaii Tim for an extra day.
It was like, yo, Hawaii Tim is good for 2 days, but I need Titan Tim for 1 day.
I need, yeah, exactly. I need Titan Tim. I need Rick Smith.
And come on.
Let me hang.
Damn, they stood you up like a high school prom date.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy.
Against the wall all by myself.
Yeah, man. And then And what else happened to MT? I know I saw a quick video of Humberto driving and you on the phone, and then you had Tim in the back seat.
Yep.
How was the whole experience? What was it? This was your first time going to
This was
MTE?
my first MTE. Yep. Yep.
And let me know about your experience because I've never been there.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and probably for none of the right reasons. But um, there was one moment in particular that really stands out to me. You want to talk about like this community, this little brotherhood that we and sisterhood that we've kind of
Yep.
built up over here in the chats. I think it was probably Thursday or Friday. So we were staying at the hotel that was attached to the convention center, and you walk through this atrium, and then it kind of drops down. You go down these escalators or the stairs to get to the
Mm,
convention center, and up above is where like all of like the little shops are, and there's a convenience store and like a Starbucks and stuff like that. And they have these little round tables, and we pulled all of these tables together, and there must have been
mm,
like 15 of us. I know Eddie was there, Jamie was there, Keeve, Hawaii Tim, um, Eric from Charleston Details. Uh, that guy is just he is so cool. Like
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like anyway,
and,
but there was like 15 of us, and everybody was just hanging out. It felt to me like I was telling Papa Smurf. I said it felt like kind of like being in the high school cafeteria where everybody's just kind of hanging out and talking and laughing and making fun of each other and ribbing each other. And it was so like I just kind of sat back in my chair and watched all these guys just hanging out, and it was like a true friendship that was kind of surreal. And so for me, I just absolutely loved I loved being there. Christian from Biobombs, he was the anchor. Yeah, he was at his booth, and so we were able to kind of like, all right, everybody meet at Biobombs booth in 20 minutes. You know what I mean? So he was like the anchor point, and then
yeah.
we just kind of roamed together. And Matt from Extra Mile and Humberto, you can't ask for two nicer people that know everyone. It's like even
Yeah,
if you're a stranger, you're a friend to Humberto and Matt. Like
yeah.
it's bananas how just
And
everybody's just so friendly.
And I've always heard about that. It's just that MT is such a great experience. I said I was gonna go this year, but with the process of buying a house and moving, it just didn't fall right this year. But but yeah, it's one of those things that I've always heard great things about MTE. It's just like you said, a brotherhood, sisterhood, just a bunch of just talented people, or even just newcomers that just wants to understand the detailing business. And then it's just like a whole community just coming together.
Yeah,
And
the show itself is weird. It's like 80% paintless dent removal (PDR).
yeah,
So like 80% of the show floor is PDR, and there's just just basically the last two rows is are chemicals.
yeah,
Um, so like I said, I probably liked it for all the wrong reasons because it was more of like a really cool hangout, meet and greet. Like I met the detail kid. Apparently he is he's a 13-year-old rock star from Idaho, and he's just changing the detail world. It was stuff like that. So I was able to
yeah,
meet all of these really, really cool people. But as far as the actual show is concerned, if you're going there as a consumer, you need an hour to
yeah.
cover all of the detail stuff.
He said, "Oh, that's all you need, an hour to cover
You need an
detail stuff.
hour to
That's
just
it.
walk the two rows, and then you've got it all.
You got it
So
all." And then what was your pick in terms of the chemical side and just say some of the teachings? Because I think Labo Cosmetica had their own teaching as well, and obviously Chris from BioBombs has his teachings of like how he does odor removal and stuff. So
yeah.
how is that process and
Well,
how do
I
those
didn't
things go?
attend any of that stuff. That's an extra $100. But you can ask. I'm pretty positive Humberto went to all of those. So we have to get Humberto on the show.
Gotcha.
He like I said, he's everywhere at the same time. I've never seen anything like it. You know how he's first on everything? It's because
Yeah,
I think that he's got clones of himself doing 100 things at once.
yeah. Gotcha. And then all right, so let's get to the nitty-gritty.
All right,
Aaron, we're gonna
I'm
ask
here.
some questions
Mike G.
and we're gonna keep it like 5-10 minutes. Just keep it, real short and concise because there are other questions, and especially one of them is going to take probably like 15 minutes of it. So, Aaron, Phoenix EOD, what inspired your journey to make your product line? And you've probably summed this up, but you've always had so many guests on your channel at this point that is probably in your archives of
I'm
like
sure.
over
I'm
a
sure.
year already. So,
Yeah.
what inspired that journey specifically? And if you want to touch up on any things like, what did you do beforehand?
Well, so I guess there's a couple of factors that go into that whole thing. The first and foremost was I don't know if you remember this, but Pan the organizer had on one of his shows, he was doing an interview with Chris from B&B Blending. He's one of the chemists over there at B&B Blending. And Chris basically said, um, they white label for over 400 companies. And
Yeah,
I mean, that was the shot heard around the world. I mean, although most people suspected, I don't think the bulk of people really knew what that was until this guy said it.
yeah,
And behind the scenes, the company that I used to work for, behind the scenes, um, that was always a problem that I had with it, was the fact that we could be doing something different. We could be doing something better. Why can't we contact a different chemist? Why can't we come up with our own recipes, our own formulas? Why can't we do this stuff? And
yeah,
it was always too hard, too expensive, whatever. And unfortunately, you're now going to run into a lot of similarities in product lines between one company and another. So there's that aspect of it, and that's kind of sets the background for when we finally move forward. Brian from Apex Auto Detailing, now auction car reconditioning. Brian was really instrumental to me actually believing enough that I could do it. So when push came to shove at the end of my tenure at the old company, it was always Brian in the background going, when are you going to do it for yourself? When are you going to do it for yourself? If you
yeah,
do it, whatever you decide to do, um, I'll support you however I possibly can.
yeah,
Um, and so it was kind of like those twofold things. That was the true inspiration, was we could be doing things so much better. And, using a compound that's going to dust crazy. And even though it's a great compound, it dusts, and it's just, you're adding more work. And for, as the industry changes, and the paint changes, and the clear coats are softer and thinner, and materials aren't made the same way, and automobile manufacturers are doing things different. If you're not willing to evolve with, if you're not willing to play the game, you're going to lose, right? Because you
yeah,
have to play the game. You like, a chemical company is not going to be able to tell GM how to make their cars. So you have to be willing to make that change.
yeah.
In a
And that's
nutshell, I hope that answers your question.
no, yeah, for sure. And that's one of those things is you got to go with what the consumer is looking for. The consumer always wants something to be better. Um, and that's exactly what you said. You didn't all these compounds just dust. They had short work times. Did they work very good? Yes, they work great, but it was just so dusty, crappy environment to work in, clogged up pads. And like you said, especially with those older types of abrasives, they were very aggressive for those lacquer paints or clear coats before I think like 2014 or whatever, before they started making it super thin. So it was one of those things.
What happened? Did you freeze or did I? Hello? Sock. Socrates, I think you froze. All right, let me go to some of these chats. All right, Yeah, Aaron behaved and was so cool to be with him. Negative, Humberto. You and Matt made the show for me. Like the three of us, we were able to just kind of go everywhere and do everything and see everything. We went down to, this is a fun story from the MTE. We went down to watch Kiev and Ivan wash. They were washing Kiev's car, his BMW. They were showcasing the new rinseless, I believe. And when they were done doing all of that, uh, Ivan found like this really cool, really unique um, Mexican restaurant, hole in the wall, but it had like a 4.8 stars, and we all went over there, and it's in the back of like a flea market. It looked shady and kind of spooky. Um, and 1000% authentic. I mean, thank God Humberto was there that he could translate. And we had the most incredible steak tacos and that chorizo queso dip. Holy moly. That'll change your life. Aaron, I'm the captain now. Well, Jamie, somebody has to, man the ship until the skipper gets back on board. But so the cheese queso and the chips, the tortilla chips were made from scratch, and they were homemade, and they were so hot you couldn't touch them at first, and they were perfectly salted. And that chorizo queso, man, I mean, talk about making me a believer. Wow.
Hello, hello. I
Hey, you're
am,
back.
yeah, I don't know. My internet just went crazy. You know how the hood works. It just works when it works.
Yeah,
But
no problem.
appreciate you keeping them entertained for a
Hey,
little bit.
I'm here, buddy. I'm here for you.
Appreciate. So yeah, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, so once you know, you got inspired and made your whole product line and all this other stuff.
Hmm.
Um, when you made your products, what was your top 3 hardest products to make? That's obviously out, that you've created, but what were the top 3 formulas or formulations? So some people say rinseless is the hardest, or compounds and polishes, others say ceramic coatings. What to you was the most difficult to finalize?
Um, I would say that Papa Cut was really hard. I think we did 7 different formulations. So the way that my process works is I present the chemist with an idea. This is what I want, and he goes through. He's got an arsenal of recipes. I tell him what I want, and then he gives me, like, he'll make a small batch um, sample. We'll call it the house. We'll call it the
Yep.
house blend. So he'll send me the house blend, and then and I say I need 7 bottles, 8 bottles of it,
Yeah.
and I give them to my field engineers, Titan Tim, Ryan, the Four Horsemen, those guys, um, and you just collect data, everything that they hate about it, everything they like about it. Amir was he? I drove up to New York to hang out with him so that he could help me with
Yeah.
product development. You guys might have known him as Lamar. He goes by Amir now. But yeah, like those guys are like really instrumental. And so you have this data collection of everything that you hate and everything that you like, and then we go back and forth. And so like it needs to have a longer cycle time. It needs to be more abrasive. It needs to finish down better. And we just keep tweaking it and tweaking it and tweaking it and tweaking it and tweaking it until universally everybody's like, this, I guess as Eddie would say, this slaps.
Yeah.
So something like that, and because um, when you're dealing with compounds and polishes and you're dealing with abrasives, you need really specialized equipment to get it right, and so that I don't have that ability in my warehouse. So
Yeah.
the process just takes so much longer, because then it's like, all right, go back to and then make the tweaks, and then wait for the stuff to arrive, and then make the tweaks. And for example, but like for Hydra, when we had version 1 that everybody hated, Within 2 weeks, we were able to change direction
You change
and
it.
roll out volume, version
I
2, because I'm
remember
doing
that.
that right there in the warehouse.
Yep.
Right? You know what I mean? Like we changed Hydra so fast that I couldn't keep up with the labels. The labels are still
Yeah.
generation 1 labels. Um, and then when version 3 had to come about, it's the exact same thing. Like we can instantaneously make those changes because we're doing it in house. So
Yep.
um, I would say that the top 3 hardest products to make, the Papa Cut was difficult, to get it right. And then
And
of
it was
course
mostly the abrasives for the Papa Cut, or was
it
it
was the
just the
abrasives,
fragrance?
it was uh, um, the delivery. We needed to make sure that it was lubricious enough
Yep.
that you could increase the cycle time.
Yep.
It's like all of those little things. You focus on one area until you get it right, and then you focus on the next area, and then you focus on the
Yep.
next area. And then finally we had to switch up the abrasives. The way the diminishing compound works is that you have these really big particles that are soft, and you have these little tiny particles that are hard, and they bounce into each other as you're moving the DA or the rotary around. They bounce into each other, and the little tiny particle breaks up the big particle, and that's how it diminishes. And
Yep.
so you have to make sure that the tiny particle is small enough that it's not going to cause micro marring and all that other stuff as it breaks down the big guy, because the little guy is going to take a much harder beating than the big guy is.
Yeah.
And so that's how that works. And so it's just this back and forth and back and forth and back and forth to get it right. And then at the very end, it was like, well, can we get it to finish down just a little bit more? And at that point, the chemist was like, dude, you're off the reservation.
Yeah.
You've wandered into a territory that, this is
Yeah.
this, yeah. So
And then the second
uh,
thing is,
I
what
would
was the
say
second
that, like,
product?
I would say
Second
that
and third.
the other two I haven't really come out with yet because dressings are really, really difficult. In my mind, I think tire dressings are one of the fastest way to give your company a black eye, because there's so
Okay.
many standards that people have and so many expectations that people have when it comes to a tire dressing. Some people like it really, really wet. Some people want it to look
Yep.
matted. Some people, is it going to last for forever? Does
Is
it
it a
last?
gel type?
Is it
So,
Joe's? Yeah, like I know that one particular company made a tire dressing that Eddie and Jamie completely hate because it takes so long for it to like cure. Apparently,
yep.
they said it's something like 12 or 24 hours for it to cure, and they were both like, "No one's got time for that." So I put that
Yep.
in my I put that in my book. All right, so there can't be a cure time. It can't
Yep.
sling. It has to,
Yep.
and I like a matted finish, but most people, I like it just a nice, clean looking tire.
Yeah.
Some people like it really, really wet and glossy. So I
S-
just, because of my level of OCD and for lack of a better term, perfectionist, I really have just dragged my feet on rolling one of those out.
Gotcha. So, all right, cool. Yeah. So tire dressings are. Yeah, I would agree with that. It's just because I have a top three, and it all sometimes just depends on what my customer wants. Typically, I ask my customer, what type of finish do you like on your tires? Because sometimes that just makes the whole detail, because in their mind, it's like, oh, I get to choose that. It's something they get to choose. Do you like a
Sure.
shiny look? Do you like a matte look? It's just something to just complete the look the way they want it to.
And
Um,
it's very important. Like it's something that I have to have in my line because I remember working with the old company. We would service a lot of rental agencies, and that's
yeah,
one of the first things that customers will look at is the tires. The car could be dirty, but if the tires are clean, they're happy, and it's
e-
bananas
exactly.
how that works.
And that
So it needs to be done, but it needs to be done right, and it needs to be done to my standards. And for that reason, it's just taken a
it's
lot
just taking forever.
a long
All
time.
right.
And not only that, but there's also it's expensive to make. They're very expensive. So you kind of want to make sure that your product line is sustainable before you start wandering into
For sure.
no profit margins.
And then so now since a little too over 2 weeks ago, you joined the Thor family with
Yeah.
having the media, and you have your own podcast with Brian Spittler from Apex Details,
I just got
and
home from that about an hour ago.
it's called No Direction. So how did you meet Brian, like, specifically? Like, what?
Uh that's a great question. I love this origin story. Um Again, working for the old company. Um it's a very niche company in what I'm in that they pretty much service only the Delaware Valley, right?
Right.
And there are 3 or 4 other companies that do the exact same thing. Ardex, Automagic. I think there's one more. I can't remember. Maybe it's Carbrite. Maybe he's just a distributor for Carbrite.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. And it's very incestuous. They go back and forth all the time. They're all fighting over the same dealerships. You know, and you go in there and wine and dine a dealership and finally get them to change over to your chemicals. And then the next month, that same company comes in and was like, well, I'll give you 10% less, you know, and dealerships are only worried about the bottom line. They don't care
Yeah.
about the level of product that you're putting out or the quality, as long as they're impacting their bottom line and it looks good enough to get it off the lot. Because as soon as that
Yep.
car leaves the lot, they don't care about what
They
your
don't care.
car. Yeah,
Hmm.
and don't say, like, if you buy like the ceramic packages and stuff like that, you're going to get taken, because they're immediately going to say, well, you didn't maintain it properly, you did this, you did that, you did that. Prove that you didn't do any of those things. So
Yep.
you're just throwing your money anyway. There was one company in particular that I was constantly going up against, and their 1500 cut was beating the balls off of our 1500 cut. And I needed to learn more about this. And so I went
Yeah.
on the internet, I did a Google search about, you know, this product. And one of Brian's videos came up, and he was doing a product review of that product. So I
Okay.
watched it and I was like, wow, this guy is pretty awesome. And then I said, how do I get somebody like this to review our products? And
Yep.
I hit the little About Us page tab at the bottom at the end of at the YouTube thing, and it gave me his address. And I was like, he's right there. He's right there in my service area. He's over here in Reading. Now, we go all the way
Yeah.
out to Harrisburg. I'm driving out to see this guy. So I drove out
Yeah.
to his old shop. It was a mechanic shop. Um, it was, you know, I think it was in Roebling, so it was the next town down. And those people that were there, they were like, oh, he moved like 2 months ago down to his new
Yeah.
shop. So I drove down to his new shop, and that's when I ran into Brian and introduced myself and gave him the sales pitch. And you know, and he said, I'll take a look at your products, but if I do anything with your products, I need to know that you're going to be accessible to my customers.
Yeah.
And I was like, what an interesting thing to say to me. Like,
Yeah.
he was more concerned about his customers than content or anything else like that.
Yep.
And so that really just kind of, you know, I dog-eared him as, this guy's probably a really good dude. And then
Yeah.
every couple of weeks I was up there trying to, hey, can you take a look at this? Can you take a look at this? Can you take a look at this? And then we just became friends. I
And
mean, he's a human being that you want to be around.
exactly. And he's one of those people that, I've learned a lot from his videos as well. And like you said, he cares more about the products, the results, and does it work? If it doesn't, and like you said, be accessible to the customer, be accessible to the public. And that's one thing, like, yeah, there was times where he will get letters and stuff and he will read them on his channel. So it's being accessible is what makes you successful,
We're trying to get that now on our Thor channel. We're trying to get people to email us so that we can do mail call on the new
Yep.
podcast together. Because yeah, I think everybody liked that. I loved it.
Yep.
And ultimately that's you know, I think that is ultimately how I gravitated to Brian and Fab and Phil Miranda and Papa Smurf, is that each one of those guys, when I started Phoenix, each one of those guys, their YouTube channel, they all had the same philosophy, which
Yeah.
was trying to help other people. Right? They
Yep.
just wanted to help. And they, you know, I ran it especially as a dealership detailer, I ran into dozens of guys that were like, I've been doing this for 20 years. These are my secrets. I'm not going to share with the world how I do this. Oh, I'm the only one that can get
Yep.
this level of perfection, and I'm not sharing the information. None of these guys are like that. Ask them
Yeah.
any question. You know, Brian, I know a couple of really good customers that I have driven to Brian's shop just to ask him a question on how to do something. And he will spend the entire afternoon showing them how to
Yep.
polish, showing them how to cut. Just all 4 of those guys are
Yeah.
like that. So
And those are the people that we need in the detailing community. That's what makes you again, successful and reputable. Customers, they need a solution. First, their solution is, can you help me with my current problem? I got swirled paint, clean my interior, deep clean it, do whatever you need to do. But at the same time, be accessible if you can help me out, or when can you help me out if I have a question for anything, you know? And then it boils down to how you are too, Aaron, which is you have the pay it forward campaign that you
Yes,
always
sir.
have. You have the pay it forward campaign. You're always helping people. You're always donating products, having these gifts that come in. And um, I saw that you had a winner. I think it was like a 16-year-old on your channel that you said you gave out all those products to and all that other stuff. It's one of those things where you're helping the next generation of detailers try to become successful, because it's such an easy way to, there's millions of drivers out there. There's millions of cars, and the fact that you do such great work as well, where you're always paying it forward, is one of those things that people love about you, Aaron, and of
Well,
course Phoenix EOD.
I do appreciate the praise, but the Pay It Forward campaign cannot exist without this community.
And
Period. So I might be the catalyst to make things happen, but all of these people supported it. They donated stuff. If they didn't have product, they bought gift cards that we could hand to
mm,
people. Like, could not do this without you guys, and then getting the word out. I think that's the hardest part about the whole thing, is getting the word out, that this exists. And we went from the first year that we did it, it was just me and Ryan, and I think we gave, four decent prizes, and then four like bottles of Titan to people. And then year two, it was pretty much the same thing, and we gave away pretty much the same thing.
yeah,
I think we got Fab jumped in and donated a whole bunch of pads and stuff like that, so we were able to do a little bit more. And then this year, I feel like the community, like, I don't know if you've seen the pictures, but
it exploded. I saw all
my
this stuff,
entire
pile
front
bombs,
office was
everything.
filled with
Yep.
stuff. I mean, we had 7 polishers that we gave away, an extractor, a shop vac, 2 steamers, um, so much product. And it's not Phoenix product. It's
Yeah,
product from
from
Distinctive
everyone.
Details, from
It,
everywhere. Everybody was
yep,
sending in
yep,
stuff. Nick sent 3 boxes of Adams chemicals up. Just amazing. And we were able to help 15 people with real product. 15
yep.
people, that it wasn't even just like, oh, here's a bottle of Titan.
Nah,
No, it was
th-
15 people with a ton of stuff. It
that
was
can get them started.
dude, it was wild. It was
Yeah,
absolutely wild.
and
Um,
that, and with that being said, it's, what else do you have in store for Phoenix EOD in 2025? Anything new that's been cooking up?
yeah, we got a couple of things. Mostly Thor, the House of Rags. By the way, I'm sure there's an affiliate link somewhere in the comment section below. Make sure you use it to save some money and support this channel. Thor has been really, really hassling me to do a collab with them and to do some stuff. And so when we were at MTE, probably, I think it might have been the first night, might have been Wednesday night. It was me and Matt and Umberto and Eddie and Jamie. Um, and Tim hadn't arrived yet. So, yeah, so it was just the 5 of us, I guess.
Yeah.
And we sat down in Eddie and Jamie's lobby of the hotel, having some drinks and just really talking about the collab and what we want to do and what we want to call it, and all of those things. So I'm really excited about that. I think we're probably going to have 3. Yeah, exactly. Mike G. I said I'm going to do I said this. I have it in text message, so it's in writing. I said we're going to do a tire dressing so that if it sucks, I can just blame you guys for it. That's my get out of jail free card. It's like if it's great, I'm going to take all the credit, but if it sucks, I'm going to blame you guys.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got to talk about like it was a lot of it was so energizing to hang out with those guys and to be able to pick their brains and bounce stuff. And as they're talking and sharing ideas, I got my chemist and I'm texting him. I'm like, you don't have to respond. These are notes. I'm just taking notes, and
Yeah.
what better way to do it than to send them to you? And
Yeah.
so, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, yeah, Eddie said this, Jamie said that, blah, 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 blah. This is what the people want.
Yeah.
What did we got? And he was just like, samples will be on their way on Monday. I was just like, I love that.
Nice.
So, in 2025, I think there's some really, really cool things happening for Phoenix, namely working with Thor, working with bio bombs. I know that we're trying to do a Typhon mini bomb team
Yeah.
up. Just some like really cool things that
Wait, you said a Typhon and Mini Bomb team up?
yeah.
That'll be a
Apparently,
powerful
everybody is
product.
raging that it is the greatest thing to ever happen to a steamer is Typhon
The,
and a mini bomb.
wow. I never tried to use Typhon and a Mini Bomb in a steamer. So that's you know what? I may try that this weekend. I do have interior
It
detail.
slaps. It's fire.
It's fine. All right, I gotta try that out this
I don't.
weekend. I do
I
I
don't.
do have a deep interior detail. I, and then what else you got? So you got that collab going. What
Yeah,
else?
that's it. I'm a
That,
one trick pony. I think
that's
we're
it.
talking about 3 different things happening. We talked about an all in one as well. Compounding polish sealant. So we got that tire dressings, bio bombs, AOIs. We got some fun things
Yeah.
happening.
All right.
But most importantly, I get to go down to South Carolina this summer and hang out with Titan Tim. There's a rumor
Nice.
you might be around. I don't know if that's true or not. And we're
Yes,
definitely
yes,
going to
I'll
get
be there.
we're going to get Keeve to come on up, and he's going to bring a whole bunch of power washers for the Pay It Forward campaign 2025.
2020.
Um,
Maybe he could sell me one of his pressure washers he has that's worth using in my garage because I'll actually have a garage door.
Mike Kaufman there's no cringe. Everybody knows I'm an old, fat, white guy. I can get away with saying almost anything at this point. Anyway,
And then all
yeah.
right. So you'll be in South Carolina and
Yeah, I love going down there. I think I've seen Tim twice now, 2 different summers. My cousin lives in South Carolina, so I always use it as an excuse. I'm going to go see family, and meanwhile, I'm going to go over and see Tim over.
see Tip.
Yeah,
And then
all you can eat crab legs.
and then all right. And then question, I'm pretty sure you've always answered before, but for those who don't know, just a quick summary. Why use mythical names? Oh yeah,
Well,
mythology, Greek
you can
mythology.
blame Papa Smurf for that. So basically, we came up with Phoenix because of my personal history and my brother's personal history. And so the Phoenix is an immortal bird that can never die. And that, like, when bad things happen to it, it rises out of the ashes. It explodes in flame and rises again from the ashes. So that's where Phoenix came from. And I don't really remember how Titan even came into play. But when my designer designed the label using Atlas as the Titan,
Yeah.
I was always, as a kid, I mean, let's be honest, as a kid, I was always into sci-fi and fantasy, Dungeons and Dragons and comic books and, reading a lot. And so, that was always in the back of my head. And then I had the 4 Horsemen, and the 4 Horsemen are all named after the guys that helped me build those products. So there was Fab Polish, Papa Cut, Gloss and Wax, and Apex Auto Wash. And then we had these 2 ceramics. I had the 7H
Yep.
1 year and the 9H plus 7-year marine grade. And I'm talking to Papa, and I said, I need a name for these things. Like, what are we gonna do? I'm out of Horsemen.
I'm out of
What are we gonna do?
horsemen.
And he
I'm out of
goes,
horsemen.
yeah, I'm out of Horsemen. So what do I do? And he was just like, well, I kind of like the whole Phoenix thing. Why don't you stick with that? Phoenix, Titan. What else goes with Phoenix and Titan? And then it was like, well, the Phoenix is immortal, and then boom, you got immortal, and then Kronos was a direct connection to Titan as another ceramic, and then from there it's just like you'd be surprised how many people want their name on a bottle.
Yeah.
You know, as soon as you have the four horsemen up there and they have their names on a bottle and their, you know, their websites and their Instagrams
Yeah.
on the labels and all that, everybody wants to be in a bottle. So it was kind of like, I have to stick to a theme, and that way I can, through plausible deniability, I can say, I'm sorry, but unless your name is, you know,
Yeah.
Mars, there's no real
It's not
chance
gonna.
of it getting on there.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
the real way of how it happened.
And
Yeah.
so that's pretty interesting. So blame Papa for it, pretty
Yep.
much. Just you
Yep.
ran out of
Yeah. He
horses.
was, he
You
was
did
like,
it.
well, just stick with that theme. And I was like,
And then
okay, yeah, let's do that. That sounds
and
great. And then I have like, as a super nerd, I have 20 pages of nothing but
of not.
Greco-Roman mythology. I have books on that nonsense. So
Yeah.
let's do that. That's perfect. I remember in the very beginning, Forensic Detail, he was he was doing all those ceramic hybrid detailers, and he ranked
Yeah.
Titan as #1. And in the comments section, somebody wrote like, I've seen other companies try to do this. They're gonna paint themselves into a corner, and within a year they won't be able to name anything. And I was just like,
Yeah.
apparently you didn't unlock
Try me.
the
Try
super,
me.
yeah, the super nerd, right? How about
Yeah.
this? We're talking about like Peleus. Like, who is Peleus?
Yeah.
You know, he's Achilles' father. One of the, you know,
Yeah.
it's nonsense. Just, yeah, we
And
could go
then
on for forever. Sorry.
and what does that mean, Tim? There goes a neighborhood if Sock moves to South Carolina. I'm
Well,
I'm
I did,
targeting the whites, for them ceramic coatings, because my hood don't pay too much for ceramic coat, you know.
I
So
would never say that. Socrates, you're one of the finest gentlemen I know.
he said, "Oh man, exactly, Tim." But uh, yeah,
Is that
we
legit?
communicate all the time.
Are we legitimately talking about that now?
About what? Ceramic
I don't want to
coatings?
say. No, I don't want to say it on the air. So
Uh, just just
you,
just
you, you
just
and
drink until you could talk.
you in South Carolina? Is that is that really a thing?
No, no, no. Oh yeah, I am gonna go to South Carolina. Look, the house is under closing. I just got to get one form. It's a do or die form, and then that's pretty much it. Everything else is
Okay, listen,
set up.
I was playing dumb because I didn't think that anybody was supposed to know.
Oh no, no. I've told people since when I was with Titan Tim
Okay,
when I did
okay,
the podcast
okay,
with him.
okay,
But
okay.
now we're in the final stages, so it will be official in June. You know what? I'll probably put in the in our Thor Media group a quick video snippet of my garage so you guys can actually smile that I have a garage door. But
You live
yeah,
like an hour and a half away from me, and I have a better chance of seeing you in South Carolina than I do seeing
yeah,
you
always,
in
always.
New York.
And it's because I don't
That's,
have a garage. If I had a nice garage, it would be good. You're gonna like this. You're gonna like the place, Aaron. You're
I can't wait.
110%
Dude, I
welcome.
can't wait. I can't wait. We're gonna
Yeah.
have to do like gonna have to be like a Phoenix reunion in South Carolina from now on, because we got Keeve and you and Titan Tim, and I bet you Rick Smith might actually drive to South Carolina because he won't go to Florida.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I think it'd be a good
So
time, and I know there's a bunch of cats that live in North Carolina and South Carolina, so maybe we'll do it. I know that Extra Mile Matt wants to do a SoCal reunion. We should do a South Carolina reunion.
a Carol reunion or something like
A
that.
Caro reunion. I like that.
A Carol reunion. No, it's nice out there. It's a little bit of a culture shock, but yeah, Tim, are white people invited over to your house? I don't know. I mean, will you guys come? You just said I was gonna ruin the neighborhood 22 seconds ago.
Yeah, maybe not old Hawaiians. Maybe they're not invited, but everybody else can come.
uh Sock, are you gonna do raised deck or Swiss tracks or cement paint? You see, for that being said, I don't know. I was thinking more of an epoxy because Adrian, Detail AF has an amazing garage. He has a very nice epoxy down there.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So I gotta hit him up who he
Hawaii
used
Tim is
for
no
it.
slouch either. Have you seen some of his videos of his garage?
Oh no, no.
He's got some stuff going on there
My
too.
man got a house in Vegas and freaking Hawaii. My man is living the dream. He got two garage doors. I only got one. That's about it. And then but yeah, so other than that, any questions, any other questions for Aaron? We're already 15 minutes in, so this way we can answer any other questions if need be. and that way we could get things started. Boom, boom, boom. And then while they put the questions in, yeah, while they put the questions in, so how do you feel about I know you came out with Chronos V2 this year.
Hmm.
Came out pretty much late spring, early summer.
Yeah.
So what made you, how do I say, what made you want to improve Chronos? Like what was the main feedback that you kept
Well, I
getting?
think I think that product in improvement. There's a couple of different factors. It's like, well, what is everybody else doing?
Yeah,
Which is as far as deciding factors are concerned, it's usually lower on my list
yeah,
of influence. Um, I form a lot of relationship with you guys. And the more that I form a relationship, I should say, the stronger that relationship is. With like Titan Tim, Hawaii Tim.
yeah,
Um, Nacho Man was a really big one when it came to the Chronos, and so was Chelsea. So you have Nacho Man and Chelsea that, although they never knocked the original version of
yeah,
Chronos, they had some critiques.
yeah.
And when you're listening to these forums and these groups, and if it appears more than once,
It may
take
be true.
yeah, and if it appears multiple times, now you got to start paying attention.
Yeah,
And then what's great is that the relationship that I have with my chemist, I can, and he's been around he's been in the business for a million years. He's so knowledgeable that I can talk about other products, and I can go, hey, well, you know how this particular product does this, or this particular product does that, or how do you get it to, how do you get it to rainbow more predominantly? How do you get it to sweat? How do you get it to do this? How do you get it to do that? And he'll say, well, it's this solvent, it's that solvent, blah 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 blah. And most recently with the Chronos 2.0, we added a hydrophobic resin
yeah.
to the mix, which gives it that crazy slickness after the fact. When it, like, the next day when it cures, it
It
becomes like
it's super slick.
bananas. Um,
This second
so
version that you came up with too has a better jetting effect than the first version on darker vehicles. I'm not sure if you saw that. On darker vehicles, once you coat right over it,
yes,
it gives like a nice, deeper, darker, richer look. May not look and there's a couple of other details out there, like Dimitri's garage. Like he always emphasizes when he tests a whole bunch of coatings that just because it looks deeper, richer, and visually it looks better, but just on the gloss meter, it may not pop up like crazy. But
right.
visually, it just looks better. And your coating is one of the very few that I really enjoy.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
To answer Westcat's question, um, it,
Which
it,
one? This
it,
one?
yep, exactly. It really depends on the level of relationship that I have. I have, like, take Rick Smith for example. He's not. I wouldn't consider him an influencer.
No.
Um, but I really, really appreciate his feedback on great many things, not just chemicals, but, like, he'll make suggestions to Curmudgeon's Corner. He'll make suggestions about all kinds of different things. So it depends on the level of relationship that I have with that particular person that I'm talking to. A lot of people just like to talk to make noise, but if I have a relationship with you, we talk on a regular basis. I'm like, you and Sock, like, for example, Sock and I, if Sock were to call me up and say, hey, what do you think about this? Or could, your rinseless does this, it could be a little bit better. Mike G is a perfect example of that. Mike G and Jamie the cleaner,
No.
they're, I think that they're considered influencers, one for sure. Mike G has a very strong channel. Um, you know, to have them give me that feedback, I'm going to weigh that very heavily into what
Yeah.
I do next. So it doesn't matter if you're an influencer or the detailing community as a whole. especially you guys in the chat room. I mean, you're here with me now. You're here with me over on No Direction Detail. You're here with me on
Yeah.
Curmudgeon's Corner. Like, I pay attention to what you guys have to say because I feel like I have a relationship with you guys, and that, you know, I think that I would rather have somebody with a lot of experience giving me criticism versus, like a weekend warrior.
Yeah. Something that sees, yeah, I could see that value point of you want somebody that does it consistently to the
Yeah,
point where it's like this is what I see on a regular basis versus the one in a lifetime instance. Like, for
right.
example, when I put
But
a ceramic coating, there's people that put coatings in the wintertime because they're on vacation and it's cold, and then they say, "Oh, it didn't cure properly." It's like, you know, did
yeah,
you have
and then
enough heat?
but it's a two-edged sword because, like, today when we were doing the podcast, the No Direction podcast, um, Brian was talking. We were talking about Papa Cut and Fab Polish, and I could tell that he was definitely talking to other detailers
Yeah,
versus the Weekend Warrior.
yeah,
And I'd like to think that my product line is designed for both of you in mind. Like, I want the
yeah.
product to be, to give you that next level results, but I also want it to be usable by the everyday man.
So
When I had
you want it to be the upper echelon on the prosumer end. It's like it's a professional grade prosumer, but the upper echelon type. That way, it's easier, get professional results, professional everything, just a lot easier to use.
But then at the same time, like when my dad came out this past summer and we detailed his truck, my dad has never picked up a wheel in his life,
Yeah,
and he was so happy with the results. He
yeah,
I like I could tell how proud he was of me because of how proud he was of
yeah.
his car, of his truck, and it was awesome. It was great to see. So you have a guy with zero experience was able to get the results that he likes, and then you have professionals getting the results that they like, and nothing could be more to that point than Fab coming out to the Southern Detailers Conference last year. We had a test hood, and I was showing some passerbyers like, look at this is what you can do with the Papa Cut, and
Yeah.
he grabs the polisher away from me, and he was like, let me have it, and he looked so much better. He
He said,
he was so much better.
uh,
But I mean, like, I was like, for me, I was happy with the results that I got because
yeah,
maybe I don't know better, and then he got, like, it was
it was,
flawless when he did it.
yeah.
So just
Yeah.
it was ridiculous. Charleston
Next,
Detail, that's the guy. He is so awesome, dude. I laughed so much hanging out with him at the coffee shop. Dude, that guy's solid. I love that guy.
the next thing I got, what has been we got this may be the last question because we only got 7 minutes left. So
Sorry,
what has been your biggest mistake in the business? What do you think has been your biggest mistake
starting it.
starting it, and why is that?
This used to not be gray. I mean, all right. So,
I
I
don't think.
I I started this July of 2021. So I mean, we had barely crawled out of COVID, and I mean, we're talking about it has just been one nightmare after a next. The supply chain issues, not having bottles, not having raw materials. I don't know if you remember, but like everything, all the ports were sealed off, and so you had ships sitting out off the coast of California for 6 months. You had,
Yeah,
you couldn't get anything, and so starting from zero, starting from scratch it was so expensive, and I mean, at one point, my wife thought my heart was just going to explode out of my chest. And just so much stress getting it off the ground. That now we're approaching year 3.5. It'll be 4 years here this July. Things are now starting to you're starting to feel finally the fruits of your labor.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a reason why most small businesses close within 4 years of startup. You have to have an
That consistent
unbelievable.
growth.
Well, you have to have unbelievable stamina, willpower, uh, faith. faith in the Almighty. Like I at one point I didn't know if I was going to make it. I didn't think I was going to make it.
And
Like mentally, physically, like I thought I was going to be end up in a cuckoo's nest.
yeah, and that's one of those things where, I salute you, Jamie, Eddie, Brian, it's one of those things that is very, very hard to get by. Just me just doing a detailing business, opening it up officially 4 years ago as an official business was one of those things that it was just very challenging. Now it's like I'm getting consistent clients, but how can I grow? How can I maximize? I got this overhead. And just because you open a business, it ends up being a 24-hour job. It's not a 9 to 5. It's once you're done detailing and the detail work took me 4 hours to do, or I worked 4 hours a day, and I got the rest of the day to myself. But technically, it's talking to customers, trying to get that next customer into your door, and that's the same thing with
the
you.
first 2 years of starting Phoenix, my hours were 8 a.m. to 1 a.m.
Yep. It's
just what it was.
Insane. That's insane. And then, I mean, exactly. And for sure, I mean, we won't let Aaron fail. He's putting out great products. That's why we use him. That's why we showcase him, and that's why he's obviously on the House of Rags. Because trust me, Eddie and Jamie, they don't just put whatever product is out there. When I went to Eddie's garage and he's testing products, he's like, "Yo, Sock, this is trash." Like he's like, "Don't use it." Like, don't I thought I test products. Not me. I do test them, but not at the level like Eddie and Jamie do. I don't have that type of capital per se to do that, but that's one of those things. All right, so appreciate you, Aaron. It's 8:57. Carlos is tuning in, and he's hosting his own podcast. You guys could take a look at his channel because after me, there's nobody at the moment. So, just
we got Curmudgeon's Corner tomorrow night. If you want to see more of us, tomorrow is a community edition. So I believe that we've got Ghost coming on, and Christy. We had a last minute card change. Becca Green was originally supposed to be there, but she had a conflict. So Christy stepped up to the plate. Tomorrow at 8 o'clock, we will be there. Bring your apple juice. Stop.
Yeah.
You're great, dude. Thank you so much for letting me be here. It's an honor. It's an honor.
Thank you.
It's been an honor. It's been an honor being your friend, meeting you in New York in your home, Queens, New York. It's so surreal. So thank you.
I appreciate you. Always a friend. And when I move out to South Carolina, my door is always open still for you, man.
I'll be there. I will be there. We're gonna have a great time. Yeah.
All right, everybody. So thank you all for coming on. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Take a look at Curmudgeon's Corner, which is Aaron's podcast. And then, of course, is No Direction podcast with Brian as well. And then everybody else that we have on the Thor Media Group, like Nick at Night, Dogma, Chelsea, Christy, the Funky Dude, Nick at Night, everybody, Eddie and Jamie. You already know where the content every day. So that's about it. Thank you all for tuning in. See you guys next time. Bye. Oh, that was